Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fieros with Tri-City Equity Group. Today we have Joey Chavez on the show. Joey's an award-winning chef who, after started out in Southern California, has traveled the world with his business, even being featured on the Food Network Chopped. I'm even trying to think, I might have even seen his episode. He's also started cooking up real estate deals, working to build Tusk Holding Group, a full-service fund manager, property manager, and brokerage company. I'm excited to have Joey on the show. Joey, welcome.
Thanks, man. I'm excited to be here and talk about all things that I love, cooking and real estate.
There you go. Well, yeah, I'm sure our listeners are curious. How did you get started? You're in some what I would typically think of as like two completely different worlds. Like, how did you get going? For one, on your on the chef side, but then two, I'm sure that at some point there's a transition into real estate. Like, give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Southern California. Grew up in Diamond Bar, California. Right, lived in my parents' home till I was 18. Two brothers, one sister. So there's 6 of us, right? Blue collar family. My dad always owned his own businesses, worked his ass off, really gave us a foundation to what hard work is. I always knew from a young age I wanted to be a chef. Real estate was not even in the play at this time, right? My life was devoted to football and being a chef.
Okay.
So I wanted to go to culinary school out of high school, but I had a pretty successful high school career as a football player. And my dad's like, dude, you need to go to a 4-year university. These trade schools, this was, back in 2007 even. And he's like, trade schools, being a chef, that's not a real career kind of thing. I was like, all right, I'll go to a 4-year university. Went to Boise State, played football there. And then I ended up actually playing football in Beaumont, Texas, at a place called Lamar University. Graduated from Lamar. And that's when I really started cooking. And I hit it hard, right? Football ended. I had so much free time. So I was able to really hustle, right? I started cooking in Lake Charles, Louisiana, small little fine dining restaurant, and then like sushi bars and kind of any kitchen I can get into that cooked their food from scratch. I was working at in the Southeast Texas area. I walked into a Cracker Barrel one time and saw the way they did their food. Man, I was there probably 30 seconds, turned around and walked out. So I knew I had in my mind what I wanted to do as a chef and the level I wanted to cook at from the very get-go. Just by the guys I worked with in Lake Charles. And that really, I think, gave me a foundation for me as a chef, as a person, right? Of not cutting corners, doing things the right way. And I just took that and I ran with it. So from there, I went up to Colorado, worked at the Ritz-Carlton as a bottom tier cook and worked my way up. Got noticed by Wolfgang Puck's crew, Spago, that was in that hotel. And yeah, man, they asked me to come work for them after 4 or 5 months of showing what I can do. And it was game over then. That opened up my world to fine dining, Michelin, top tier chefs. And from there, Colorado, Vegas, Arizona, Napa Valley, working at the French Laundry.
And to not not cut you off there, but for those of our listeners, because obviously a bunch of us, we're in real estate trying to make things happen, whatever. But I will say the difference between going to a traditional restaurant and a Michelin star rated restaurant, worlds of difference. Like if you're thinking, like that, you passed on the Cracker Barrel early on. So going from that to, French Laundry or going to, some other Michelin, rated restaurant is going to be a world of difference to your taste buds. So yeah, just shout out to all of the fine dining restaurants. Not to say you can't get a great meal also at a non-rated place, but if you get the experience, you get the chance to go.
Yeah, it's definitely, it definitely is a world apart, right? These Michelin restaurants are destinations. A 1 Michelin, 2 Michelin definitely are. A 3 Michelin star restaurant, your trip to that restaurant, that is your trip, right? You're going to that region to go to that restaurant, eat at the French Laundry, one of the best restaurants in the world, right? You're planning your trip around eating at that restaurant, right? You're making reservations a year, 2 years out to get into these kind of places. So, I knew that's the level I wanted to cook at, right? And, to do that required a lot of sacrifice. So I'm a 21-year-old dude just got out of college, right? Instead of going out partying and doing all these other things, I dive into working. I'm working 16, 17, 18-hour days, half of that for free, right? Making $10, $12 an hour. But while doing this, I started growing a family. Like I got my at the time girlfriend, who's now my wife. We had a 1-year-old, so we're traveling around. We ended up having our second child while I was working at the French Laundry, making $12 an hour, having two. So I had 2 kids now, and I knew it was like, man, I got to do something more. But there's a level that I wanted to stay at. And for me, it's like, all right, if I want to be the best, I need to surround myself with the best, and I need to maintain that. So from there, it was just moving around, being able to support my family's needs, right, and cook at the level I wanted to. So, we bounced around Northern California, Southern California, out back to Colorado, like Aspen, Vail areas. Did that for a while. Was in Baltimore, New York. Had a really successful time in Baltimore. Did really well in 2019. I was voted best new chef in Baltimore by the Baltimore Sun. And that's when Houston, this is what is leading me to my real estate, is because that's when Houston at that time, this was 2019, 2020, going into 2020, Houston came up. Brennan's of Houston was like, hey, come down here. You went to school down here. Let's win some awards, right? We've been around for 50 years. It's our turn, because this is the Commander's Family Palace, right? The one in New Orleans. And so I moved to Houston. And right when I moved to Houston, March 1st, moved into our home. March 13th, COVID closed everything down. So you can imagine that, right? Leaving this big role up in Baltimore, doing super well. And yeah, COVID stopped the whole country, but I literally just moved. So it was like we get settled in, and man, I sat at home for 2 months. Like, this is the first time since college break that I've had this much time off in my career. I'm working 90, 100 hours a week at this point, and boom, it just stops.
Full stop, right? Yeah, wow.
Full stop. I was so lost. And at this time, I'd been reading about real estate, dabbling in a little wholesaling, trying to get involved in that. And then, that time off, it really made me realize, man, chefing isn't everything. Seeing the time I spent with my kids, my wife, our relationship at that point started, even though the world was coming around us, my core family was getting stronger than it's ever been, right? My relationships with my kids, my wife, I was around, it was great. And seeing the impact, just being home more, I never really stopped to see that. So for me, COVID, in a sense, was a blessing. I know it's hard to say that, but it really opened my eyes and changed my perspective into that and what was important to me. And this is ultimately leading to, again, real estate, because I started seeing and diving more into that world with all the free time I had and seeing what real estate does for people, right? My dad's been in commercial real estate for probably now close to, I would say, 15 years, 18 years. And I never really paid attention to it, what he was doing and what he had going on, because it just was no interest. But then I start reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Falling Bigger Pockets, doing all these things. I'm like, oh man, holy crap, this stuff is insane. And for me, it was it worked out well because 1, it's a numbers game, and 2, it's people, right? Real estate at the end of it is people.
Yep.
And what more better than somebody that, I feed people's true love, food, right? You can't survive without that. So now I know how to connect with people on that kind of level. And so I slowly started getting into the game of wholesaling and realized with my time, because at this time, right, restaurants are opening back up. It's about 1.5 years after COVID's already started. So I'm trying to wholesale, and I realized I can't be cold calling and doing all these things by myself. So I start to form little teams. And then as I start forming these little teams and these networks, I start realizing all right, well, the real power is in holding it, being the owner, right? I'm finding these amazing deals, but I'm now turning around and selling for 10 grand when I could keep these and make money, right? Making rents, making cash flow, 300, 400, 500 a month, getting paid on the beginning, getting paid on the back end, right? And started learning about all the different structures that go into it. So I spent almost a year researching communities and really diving into it. During that time, I bought my primary home. That was my first time. We moved probably 15 times. So I bought my primary home. Also got a rental. And then I partnered with my older brother, and we picked up a property in Grand Lakes, Colorado during all this time. And yeah, man, so that really just kind of opened the floodgates. And since then, you know, I've joined Sub 2. I've been in Sub 2 about 7 months now in there. And for me, that's just been a game changer. Sub 2 has changed my life. I will say that 100%.
It's like perfect timing too, because you know that's something that I was identifying like as the market had shifted and we started, you know, walking into this this high rate environment. It's like, oh my goodness, like that was something right off the bat. I'm like, creative finance, seller finance, you know, creative deal structure and all that kind of stuff is going to be huge, you know, pivot as we pivot into this high rate, you know, market, because that shifts everything. You know, it slows everything down on kind of all the traditional methods and all of the kind of the sugar fed market that we've had the last couple of years throughout COVID. Because, you know, real estate deals, you know, the last couple of years have been insane. You know, everybody was basically the sugar fueled high, all of this, the stimulus money, money was so cheap, debt so cheap. And then people just think, okay, well, this is going to last like this forever. You know, I've been through a, you know, market cycle. You know, this is not my first rodeo in terms of market cycles. And so it's like, you know, the lows don't stay low forever and the highs don't stay high forever either. And every time, you know, each of these, there's money and there's opportunity to be made in every one of the market cycles, but you've got to be prepared for it. You got to know how to take advantage, what kind of tools that you're going to need in order to, you know, fully take advantage of those opportunities in every market. So yeah, that kudos to you for identifying at least that and knowing, okay, well, look, this Sub 2 thing sounds pretty interesting, you know, yeah, great pivot. I think
it really was. Like I said, I put a lot of effort into really. I knew I couldn't do it by myself, and I needed a community, right? Just with, you know, my time and what I'm able to do, and yeah, like I said, I put a lot of effort into it and was very strategic about what I was going to invest my money in to grow for myself. And hands down, Sub 2 made perfect sense, just for what you said, right? With the way that the market's going, this is going to be key, right? With these high interest rates. And, you know, this is something that I can have in my tool belt for the rest of my life. Having a great understanding of this. I mean, I can go back to where I met you at HostCon, right? I'm in a room full of investors, and there's maybe 10 people in this room that know about Sub 2, right? All these people are purchasing homes conventionally, you know, 20, 25% down, whatever it may be, cash deals. I'm like, man, let's take that 20% down and spread it across 4 or 5 deals, right? So these people are like blown away by it.
So I'm gonna pause you real quick right there. So for, you know, those of our listeners out, we've got a very wide range of listeners, you know, multifamily investors, passive investors, active investors, operators, syndicators, short-term rental operators, you name it. For those of our listeners that may not fully be understanding of what Sub 2 is, give me a quick breakdown. Like, what is that? What is Sub 2?
Yeah. So Subject 2 is when we go into a property. I'll explain it because it goes. There's about 3 different ways to present it, right? So Sub 2, if we went to a property that's, let's just say, $300,000 asking price, right? We come in Sub 2, they have $300,000 asking price, so they have a $150,000 mortgage, right? So we'll come into that deal and we'll offer to take over that mortgage, right? That home, subject to the existing mortgage. So we'll come in, and this will technically be a hybrid deal for us. So we'll present to them about assuming. We won't officially assume that loan. We'll be taking over the payments, right? The loan's not going to be transferred to us. It's going to stay in the seller's debt.
And that's a key difference between an assumption and a Sub 2. Assumption is like you actually have to. The lender's got to be, you know, fully involved in the process on an assumption deal, and you're actually physically taking over their loan. Versus Sub 2, hey, payment, the loan is going to stay in the owner's name, and the payments are going to continue to be made, you know,
in their
name. Correct.
We're servicing their debt. So we will set up payments through escrow, title, whatever it may be, to continue to make those payments. Now, when this comes as a hybrid, because now we have 150 worth of equity left on the home. And that's when we'll present to that seller, okay, well, now this is the position where you can sell or carry that, right? So we'll create our own terms. And just for, you know, we'll come in. Ideal terms that we're pitching right now is 5% down, a 30-year amortization with a 3% interest rate. And we're sending out probably about 40 LOIs like that. You know, so there's those 3 subjects, right? We have one where you come in if they owe all, they just bought the house within a year, they owe $300,000 on it. We'll come in and we'll take over that loan completely, right? Subject to, with no equity. Usually with those deals,
for the listeners, listen to what he just said. So if you're, for our investors out there, they're trying to go get debt right now. They're trying to get, money for their deals. Even if you just go to a conventional lender, let's say you're trying to buy your own primary residence. Rates right now are in the 6.5%, on the investor side. If you're going to try to go get, DSCR loans or whatever, again, we're talking about residential, you're paying, 7, 8, 9%. For your debt. And he just structured a deal, or, at least in this example, let's say, where the terms are, hey, 5% interest. So, all that cheap money that we've been, that was out there the last couple of years, you can still get, 5% down. So not even 20% down, not, 30% down or any of that kind of stuff. 30-year AM, right? So it's spread out over, it's on a 30-year kind of schedule. And then what was your 3% interest rate?
Percent interest is what we're offering right now.
Love it. That's awesome.
So, yeah. I mean, that makes this deals super low entry, low interest payments. I mean, so now, right, we're coming in. Like I said, those 3 options. One is a complete subject to. They just have a new that mortgage that there's no equity in the home. Will come in. And with those kind of deals, those people that are selling a home where they have no equity are usually in some kind of pain, right? So we are honing in on that and really offering our service. For me, like I said in the beginning, one of the books I read this year when I got into this was Go Giver, right? Being a go giver, helping people out, being a chef. I serve people. My superpower is serving people. So I really am in this to help people out. So if somebody needs a move, somebody's got to get out of the house quick, whatever it may be, they can't afford it. So we'll come in and I'll find that out. I'll really get to know whether it's a seller, agent. I really want to be invested in these deals, figure out what's going on with this home and to figure out how we can help out, right? And again, if somebody's upside down in their house and we come in and we completely subject to their mortgage, a lot of the times we're taking those over with no money out of pocket, right? Plain closing costs, things like that. Again, then we have the hybrid where it's half subject to, half equity, or complete seller finance when they don't owe any mortgage, right? We'll come in and they'll seller finance just a whole house, and we'll pitch the same terms: 5 down, 30-year AM. And a 3% interest. And usually it leaves us a good amount of wiggle room in there. But at a 5%, I mean, it's I don't even have to look at rent rates, right? I can get in a home and I know we're going to cash flow at that kind of price.
Oh yeah. With that kind of terms too. I mean, that's the key there, is like the terms are just so much in your favor and you're not competing, right? Like right now, well, in the last couple of years, we had this screaming market. It's like, I can't tell you how many times, I work with a ton of agents. I work with, just so many people in the industry. And it's like, okay, hey, I'm trying to go out and find a deal. Yeah. If it's on the market, yeah, good luck. You're competing against, 20, 30, 40, 50 other offers I've seen before, for deals. Let's say in my market, I'm in Hawaii, 100, 200 grand, plus over ask, no, fully waiving inspection periods and just all this craziness. And it's like, no, now you're able to, you're finding off market, going direct to seller. Hey, you're not having to get beat up competing with so many other investors, right? And you're able to get favorable terms from the seller because, again, like you mentioned earlier, right? They're in distress, right? They need to sell. They need a solution to their problem, is what it is. And you're coming to the table with multiple solutions.
Yeah, multiple solutions. And I will say we do target off market, but a lot of the homes we've been targeting lately have been on market. Right. We're looking at those on-market homes that have been on market 90 plus days. And again, in those cases, I mean, I see those as, I love those. Those are a win-win for me because I'm going to go in and negotiate. I'm going to get your seller his full asking, right? We're going to put some money in his pocket. We're going to take over his debt. I mean, it really is a win-win. And that's how I present it to agents. And a lot of times agents are like, well, this is illegal. This is wrong. You can't do this. And when I really sit down and I break down these facts from them, I mean, a lot of them come out believers. I'm able to talk. I just negotiated an agent down from $17,000 commission to a $5,000 flat fee to get that house sold because they had the seller's best intentions, right? They knew I was giving them the full asking. They knew what I was presenting was fair. And I even showed them, hey, man, your house has been on the market 100 days. You're going to sit on the market another 3, 4, or 5 months. Like what are you going to do? So yeah, man, it's been fun, honestly. And that's my role right now in this in this company we've created with these other students is I'm the closer. I go in, I hop on, and I lock these deals up, negotiating with agents, sellers. Again, people are my power. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And like I said, I that's the one thing I loved about learning about Sub 2 over these last several years. And really just over my career. I was exposed to it years back, but just didn't really have a full grasp. Again, there's a million and one different ways to make money in real estate, right? And so it's like, for those that aren't interested or, don't understand Sub 2, you just mentioned, like, you're having to educate even other people that have been in the industry for a long time, right? You're talking with an agent. That agent could have been working literally in real estate for 30 plus years, decades. You could have a real top producing agent and has zero understanding of how Sub 2 works, of how the kind of the investment business works, and really just providing other options. That's, at the end of the day, it's in their client's best interest. If they can't sell their house, hey, you know what? They're not making anything, right? They're not providing a solution to the seller's problem. Seller is, hey, I'm trying to relocate. My job's going somewhere else. Hey, I'm trying to buy this house in a different neighborhood or a different city. You're not going to be able to sell it. If you bought in the last, 18 months and, you don't have any, let's say, equity in the deal, the market has shifted. A lot of sellers it hasn't really sunk in yet that they can't sell for what they thought their house was worth 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 10 months ago. We're in a completely different market. And what we're finding is, and I've seen this too, again, they don't have an understanding of what the impact that interest rate has on the purchase price. There's a direct correlation there, and they're still wanting purchase price based off of 2%, 3% interest rates that we've had. It's like, well, that doesn't exist anymore. So you can come to the table, even allowing for a higher purchase price, because you can still get that cheap debt and it still makes sense, right? At the end of the day, you're trying to solve for a payment. And if you can get the terms that you want, it's not always about price. You investors out there, listen, make sure that you understand that it's not always about price. We put everything out in a long enough timeline, you will win just owning real estate. So if you can get a seller a price and you can still solve for your, let's say, your monthly expense, whatever your debt service is and your numbers, that's okay. Even if you're overpaying, you're not really, because again, you're still able to lock in cheap debt. If you have low money out of pocket, that can boost your cash on cash. There's all kinds of different solutions to the table. I think too often we get stuck working within this little box of, well, it's got to be this way. If it doesn't fit in the box, hey, sorry, can't help you.
Yeah, I agree with that mentality, the box, right? What's your buy box? What's your buy box? Like, that was always what I heard when I first got into, what's your buy box? Or, don't get shiny object syndrome and try to learn this and try to do that, and try to do this. And what I've really learned, and from the really successful people, is you have to be diversified. You have to be able to say and understand everything that's coming your way, right? Especially when we dove into this multifamily realm, it's like, man, those deals take such a long time. We need to be able to produce and acquire single families, dispose single families. And then now with where everything's going, commercial, right? RV parks, the hospitality side of it, Airbnbs. You need to be able to be diversified, because again, one aspect of it can break. And what are you going to do if 100% of your portfolio is Airbnbs and some reason Airbnb takes a shit, this next year, right? Yep. You own all your properties outright. They're all on Airbnbs. They suck for long-term rentals. What are you going to do?
Yep. So, no, like I said, me being based in Hawaii, we saw that firsthand. It's like, well, primary economic drivers in Hawaii, it's military and tourism. Well, guess what? During COVID, there was literally zero people coming to the island. The island's completely shut down. I saw countless businesses going under. And those that were just strictly in, let's say, one asset class, if all they had was vacation rentals, guess what? You're done. And so many businesses, again, that were reliant specifically on tourism, wiped out, never come back. Same thing with restaurants, businesses. You name it. So being diversified is so key. Different asset classes, different strategies. Again, you got to have different tools in the tool belt. And it sounds like you guys are bringing those kind of solutions to the table. So the kudos to you guys. So what kind of projects are you working on now? Like, what's anything new, exciting? Like, what do you got going now? You guys are obviously dealing, different strategies. Anything you guys are trying to work on?
So again, we developed this company called Tusk Holding, which is new for us going into 2023, right? Me and 6 other leaders in the community. You know, a little backstory on it. Pace puts on these things called elephant challenges, where he opens himself up to the public and he encourages students to get into that and be involved and teach these people. Because not only it's a great marketing for ourselves, but it's a way to have property finders, right? That's what it is at the end of the day. So, you know, there the 6 of us, 7 of us, we all had our individual groups of 30, 40 people. I'm like, man, let's come together and do this together. So we came together a couple of months ago, and we ended up having about 700 property finders underneath us. And we realized really quick, we're like, damn, like we need to capitalize on this. So we threw together, I mean, there was probably a month straight. We were up to 2, 3 o'clock every night on Zooms, figuring out what we're going to do. And yeah, man, we finally pulled it all together, and it's starting to flow and work great, right? We have different aspects to the company, right? Tusk Holding is everything real estate, right? Rob Sema, who oversees Gator lending in the sub-2 community, right? We're developing the lending side to Tusk, right? We have our single family side to it that I oversee, and then we have our multifamily, right? And in there is hospitality, Airbnbs, RV parks, commercial. What we do on the daily is, you know, we have our Discord now with our 700 property finders, and we do daily Zooms. Our guy Darvin's oversees those Zooms where we're doing agent outreach, broker outreach, direct to seller outreach, and just teaching these guys how to do it, how to talk to people, how to find the right properties, how to build relationships in multifamily world where, you know, yeah, first we were getting everything on market. And again, if it's on market, you know, it's probably not the greatest deal, right? You want those off markets, obviously, and how to lead those to those relationships of getting those off market properties where the money really is for those things. So we've been teaching, right? Teaching has been a big part of this, and just educating people how to speak, how to make the money, how to do this. And, you know, wholesaling, right? For me, wholesaling in the beginning it still is frowned upon in our community, I think. People think wholesaler, like, oh man, no, I don't want to deal with you. You're just a wholesaler. Well, in a company like this, I mean, you probably understand too, where we have such a high intake of leads, it would be silly not to, right? This is how we're building capital from within. We're getting so many deals come in. We're sending 40 LOIs a day. We're getting 2 or 3 leads that we're locking up almost daily on single family. And we're not going to hold on to them, all of them, right? A lot of them don't make sense. So what we do is we wholesale them. We'll dispo them out to the sub-2 community. And there's small and pop buyers that will buy this stuff up all day long. So now we're generating, you know, a $10,000 assignment fee off of one home. And we do 5 of these a week, 50K, you know, that's $200K a month, right? And that's our capital, some of our capital to take down these multifamilies. Again, my role in the company is I'm the closer. I oversee single family. I oversee the hospitality. I get on the phone, I negotiate, and I build the relationships, right? I go out there and I meet the end buyers. I go out there and I find the private capital and I raise the money. So that's what we're working on in a nutshell right now.
No, it's a lot of spinning plates, right? We'll bring it back to kind of more of a service, metaphor. But yeah, you got to wear a lot of different hats, to try and make stuff happen. But again, you're making it work like synergistically, and that's something that we've seen too, like on the commercial side. That's one key lesson that I think I've learned. It's like, you know what, if you want to run by yourself, you can do that. You can do that in real estate, but you're going to have limited success, and it's going to take you a lot longer than if you partner up, right? You squad up. I know I hear the sub-2 guys say, right? So but
yes, sir.
But it's the power of partnerships, right? Like you guys are able to scale like that because now you come together. Hey, what's your strong suit? That's actually one of the, you mentioned to our listeners, those of you guys who are not familiar with sub-2, heard Joey mention earlier Pace, right? Pace Morby, obviously the thought leader in the space. So if you haven't checked out any of Pace's stuff, definitely go check it out to learn a little bit more. If any of this topic sounds interesting to you, and it should, especially in this market. Pace, I feel like it's got a creative solution for whatever. So
it is seller financing cars, sub-2ing cars, cameras, and I've actually used that approach. I'm looking to buy a couple campers right now, and I've approached people about subject to, taking over their loan for their camper, right? Non-traditional. I've done it with cars. I'm looking to sell my car on a seller finance. So yeah, man, it's crazy the things and the way that man's mind works. It's been a real pleasure learning from him.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the key things that I think I've learned in life in general. It's like, well, it's not a question of can this be done, right? It's like, well, how can I do it, right? And that's where I really think that's a shift in mindset that I think that I've seen from Pace, or if you're around him, right, or if you've heard any of his teaching or that kind of stuff, where it's like, no, there's a solution there. Let's find a creative way to make it happen. Because you called it yourself, right? Like if you're looking for campers, I think you will find that more people would be willing to seller finance or do something along those lines than you think. Right? It's just that nobody asks, right? Nobody asks. We're not trained to kind of think in that thought process. So yeah, no, that's super cool. Yeah, that's great that you're applying it to more than just, let's say, real estate.
All day on Facebook Marketplace, man. If I see something I like, cars, anything, hey, you open the terms? Hey, I mean, a lot of people say no because they don't understand, but I get that. But I get a few yeses here and there.
Yeah, you don't have because you don't ask, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, so I know you mentioned, and I don't know if you want to talk about it at all, but I know you guys are working on a kind of multi-acre space as well, like an event type place. Is that something you guys still is that something you want to share about, or?
Yeah. So I'm actually looking to, raise capital, find equity partners, whatever it may be. I'm looking at a wedding venue out here and it's 45 minutes south of Austin in kind of like that Seguin, New Braunfels area. It's a wedding venue, like I said. It's got 32 acres of land. The two venues right now are bringing in net cash flow for the year like $350,000, right? Gross revenues are around like 750, 780. So it's making a good chunk of change, and it's hands-off ownership. Sorry. So there's management in place that are running it on the daily. They're doing about this year, I think they did 110 weddings. Next year they have 150 on the books. And it's literally just a wedding venue on land, right? You pay $5,000-$6,000 and you have your wedding. You have to have it catered. You have to have your planners. So my idea behind it, and I see a tremendous value add in this place because one, they're maxed out at the weddings they can do on Friday, Saturday, Sundays. So with those 32 acres, there's already plans to build 2 more venues, which right there is going to hopefully double, raise by 50% that net cash, right? And the guy is a contractor, developer, big time guy here in Houston. So he has the plans for this to be done, under $500,000, which is a great price. So developing the venues, implementing a commercial kitchen. So now with my background, right, that's my credibility on this whole deal, is my background in fine dining and restaurants and operations. I've ran $12 to $15 million a year operations. So I can come in and oversee this and develop a commercial kitchen. Now we're offering catering, right? We're offering food on site. Not only that, we're offering catering to the Airbnbs. We're offering dinner, to the 2 Airbnbs that are on property where people want to have their wedding. They don't even have to leave the property anymore, right? They can have the food they want, the food they need, rehearsal dinners. And then on top of that, once we get the commercial kitchen up, there's room to grow more glamping, more Airbnbs. There's no reason why this plot of land can't be bringing in, $1.5 million, $2 million in 3 to 4 years. And that's net, right? If you got all these things in place, that's a good chunk of change of money coming in off of one property, right? Land hacking, as they talked about.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And see, again, like for those who may not be keyed into some of that too, right? So like, again, these are just some of the different facets that you can find, like I'd say, in real estate, right? Like it doesn't have to be just, hey, I'm renting a little $100,000 house in some other state or whatever, as a long-term rental. No, you've got freaking glamping that you can do, short-term rentals, midterm rentals, multifamily. Just the things that Joe and I've just kind of mentioned here on the call, or on the recording. It's like there is so many different opportunities out there, right? You just have to be willing to look for them, have eyes that are open enough to see them, and then find a way to implement. And yeah, no, that sounds like an awesome project. It really does.
He's open to creative terms on it, right? He's asking 3.6. He's open to a 25, 30-year amortization, 5% interest. The biggest thing though is he does want 1.4 million upfront. which has been hard because that is a big down payment. And he's pretty stuck on it. He's like, listen, why would I sell something that brings me this much cash every year, right? If I'm not going to get what I want out of it. And he realizes that, he knows that, so he can hold on to it and collect his money. But for him to walk away, he wanted a good chuck and change, which I totally understand. It's a unique, great opportunity, I think.
Just need to find some creative solutions, right?
Yeah, man, we're working on it. It's taken about 13 touches with him. I've been up there twice. My partner's been up there. I've been on the phone with him every week. And I finally just now got him to, because he has all his businesses tied into this entity. And so he had to go through and pick out all his contracts, all his stuff, and be able to put the numbers on paper for me before I was able to move forward, which I finally got this week, which is great. So now I have the tools I need to go out in the world and try to raise the capital for it.
So is this something that you found on the off market, in some of your off market or some of your efforts, or through some of your network or the deal finders?
Yeah, through some of my networks. Just, I love, one thing I'm a big fan of is all the groups on Facebook. And here in Houston, here in Texas, any market that I'm a big fan on, I'm in the groups on Facebook. And I'm active in them, and I'm always looking at them. And yeah, actually, that's where I came across this one. A seller's like, hey, I got an off-market property. We'd love to talk to you about it. And since I'm so active in it, it popped up in my feed first. Was the first one to jump on it. Call them, boom, let's go. Send them my bio. I was like, this is why I'm your buyer. Let's do this. So it got him super excited about it too.
So you mean there's nothing to, when people groan and complain about like, wow, there's no deals out there. I can't find any deals.
Oh, they're everywhere. Deals are everywhere. It's all about how you perceive them and how you were able to take them down.
Yep. No, I love that. And like I said, that's having that creative eye, that creative vision for seeing opportunity, right? This is why we've got to have eyes for that. For you guys, like there's opportunity everywhere. It's just a matter of you identifying it, having eyes for it, and then making something happen. So there's definitely deals for you guys out there. So, well, very cool. Well, Joey, I can probably stay on you with you all day, man. But is this kind of the point of the show where we transition to a little bit of what we call our fire round? Is that something you're game for?
Yeah, man, let's go.
All right. But what is you mentioned earlier? You did mention a book earlier, but what's the best book that you recommend other than Rich Dad Poor Dad? I know you threw another one out, a couple of them out there. But
Go Giver.
What's Go Giver?
Go Giver for me was a huge transition into, really serving people and trying to do right by others and not expecting anything in return, right? Just go out there, help your neighbors, help your people around you, help people learn and help people grow. And it will organically come back to you if you are doing it with true intentions.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And that actually changes the way that you'll do it too. Right? Like if you're doing it, you'll do it wholeheartedly. You'll do it without expecting a return. It's just going to come across as more genuine. Trust me, you'll get better results. And just implementing that in life in general. That's great. You also answered this one earlier too, but what's your superpower?
Man, my superpower is people. I always say that it's people, serving people, understanding people, connecting with people. I like to be in front of the people.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's a huge power to have, like just to be able to mix it up. Again, providing that service component, providing value. Yeah, love it. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned over your career so far?
Don't trust anybody, right? Get everything in writing. I don't care who it is, what it is. Get it in writing, because when there's money involved, people change. People don't hold up to their word. And if you're being a genuine person, you're going to get burnt a lot of these times. And it's going to take you a little bit of time to realize that. It took me a real long time to realize that. Even in my chef career, like, oh, we're promising you we're going to give you this bonus. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It don't mean anything unless it's in writing now. So always get everything in writing.
Yeah, it's a powerful life and business lesson for sure. Yeah, no doubt. And then for the busy working professional, working towards financial freedom, what advice would you have for them?
Figure out why you're doing it, right? What's driving you? What's pushing you towards that? What is your why? And if you can't stay on task, then your why isn't deep enough, right? You're not pushing hard enough. Your mind isn't set on what you want and what your goals need to be. for me, mindset is a huge part of all this. I mean, I work 12 to 14 hours a day in my chef career, but I do all this other stuff on the side because my why is deep, and my why is what pushes me forward every day.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely key. Having clarity on your why, and that's that's your driver. No, for sure. That's great. Well, how can our audience reach out to you, man? If they want to get in touch with you, what's the best avenue to do it?
Yeah. So reach out to me. My work email is joey@tuskholdinggroup.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Chef Joey 63. I also just rolled out my chef company. That's a great way to get a hold of me, is The Hidden Truffle here in Houston, Texas. That also has an Instagram. So those are 3 ways you can get a hold of me.
All right. Awesome. Joey, well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I'm sure our listeners got a lot of value out of that. And Ben, you've got such a cool story. Excited to see what the future is going to hold. I mean, if this is the trajectory that you're on, and even just a pretty short period of time on the real estate side, excited to see. We'll have to have you back on the show to see what the latest progress is, and a little bit further down the road.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. This was fun. I look forward to working with you guys too in the future.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, Joey, we'll talk to you soon. Aloha.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Oh, what a great episode with Joey. Man, what a cool story. How he got started in chefing, and having as being on TV shows, being award winning, bouncing all over the these different states, these different locations, working for all these high end restaurants, to now investing in real estate, switching gears, being able to provide a different level, different experience than the traditional real estate investor, because he's able to focus on the kind of the human element, that side of it, right? The hospitality side. I know sometimes it's easy for us to just get kind of lost in the numbers, lost into the deal, but coming from that service side, which is really kind of coming through and everything that he was talking about, I think is huge. So, but yeah, great having him on. Make sure that you're going back, taking a look at reaching out to him for one, if you've got deals, or if you're looking to pick up deals specifically in the Houston market. Make sure you're reaching out to him, or if you need catering, or not catering, but food service or any of that kind of stuff out on his on that end of things, make sure you're reaching out to him. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Of course, if you found value in today's podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. That really, really helps us out. We'd love to be able to spread the message of inspiring other people to get started in their real estate investing journey, achieving financial freedom and success. And of course, if you're there local in Hawaii, make sure that you're joining our Facebook group. If you want to connect with other local like-minded individuals, really just that want to improve themselves, make sure you're joining the group, Honolulu Multifamily and More. Of course, share our podcast if you know somebody else that this might resonate with. And then, of course, we do have our second annual Hawaii Millionaire Mindset Conference coming up over on the Big Island of Hawaii. So gear up for that. Make sure that you're making plans to attend. All right, that's going to be an awesome time. Again, it's all about surrounding yourself rather with like-minded individuals. That's happening June 29th through July 1st over at the Maunalani Resort on the Big Island of Hawaii. Actually, where Joey was heading to next, he's heading over to Big Island. So super cool, small island, as we would say. But all right, that's going to be it for today, guys. Hope you guys found value in that. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next show. We'll see you next time. Aloha.